welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to give you my top 3 tips for increasing the amount of breast milk that you have, but also the amount of milk that your baby is going to get at the breast. My name is Kitty Hackle and I love to talk about everything that is pregnancy, birth and breastfeeding. If you're interested in that kind of content, if you are either about to become a new parent or you are already a new parent and you're in the middle of that hormone soup that is postpartum, make sure and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss any of my new videos. So my first tip may not come as a surprise, but that is optimizing your baby's latch. So that might mean doing a little bit of work with a lactation consultant or breastfeeding support worker. That might mean doing a little bit of body work to relieve any tension that your baby has after being in utero for 9 months and possibly down to some factors during their birth and their arrival earthside. But making sure that your baby's got a nice big open wide mouth when they're going onto the breast and that they have what we call an asymmetric latch. Essentially, it's a nice big mouthful of breast tissue whereby you would see the majority, if any, is visible of the areola, that darker part around the nipple, at the top lip and lesser so at the bottom. This means that if you feel with your tongue on the roof of your mouth, you've got your hard palate, and then further back you've got your soft palate. And this means that that's where you want your nipple to be and that it's shooting back to that area. So yes, it's going to be more comfortable for mum, but it's also going to mean that your baby is going to get the most bang for their buck, the most for their efforts at the breast. So nice deep latch is number 1. My tip number 2 is perfectly timed because I'm also feeding my own newborn during this video, but that is breast compressions. So you want to be listening out for your baby during their swallows. You should hear your baby swallowing for about 80% of their time at the breast, and that should be in a sort of a pattern of perhaps 2 to 3 sucks for 1 swallow and then followed by a little bit of a break. Once you can no longer hear your baby swallowing at the breast, that's where I want you to apply this second tip, and that is breast compressions. So it's really simple, really straightforward, but you're making a C shape with your thumb and your index finger and even your other fingers if you want to employ them too, and you're compressing down the breast tissue. You're doing 2 things here. Not only are you helping to really efficiently drain the breast, so you're also in doing that, you're creating an empty breast, which we know stimulates more milk production, but you're also forcing the flow of milk forward, giving your baby positive reinforcements for the breast, reminding them of where they are, since further milk flow stimulates further suckling, which stimulates further feeding and further swallowing. But you're also doing that, releasing the fatty droplets that stick to the inside of the breast tissue. So in releasing those, you are giving your baby that lovely fatty top up of creamy milk at the breast. So now on to our last and final tip. We've got a baby who's well latched. We're using our breast compressions whenever we can no longer hear that swallowing taking place. And once those are no longer working, this is where we apply our final tip, and that is using a super switch nursing technique, which is one of my personal favorites. And what that means quite literally is you are swapping your baby back and forth between the breasts, going back and forth up to 6 times during a feed. This technique works really nicely in 2 different ways. The first is that you're sort of tricking your body into thinking you've got a cluster feeding baby. Babies cluster feed to stimulate more milk production. So they do it around night 2 after birth to stimulate your milk to transition in from that golden colostrum to the more mature milk. They do it then again around day 10 when their increased needs for milk go up. And then again around week 6. So there's lots of different times that they do this cluster feeding technique, but every time they do it, it's like making a phone call for your Friday night takeaway. You have to make the phone call first before you can go and collect your food. So similarly, a baby who is feeding often and regularly at the breast, like that cluster feeding technique, the supply will go up. So by offering your baby the breast back and forth and switching between the breasts, you're tricking your body into thinking they've got a really hungry baby, so the supply goes up. It also works in another way to increase the amount of milk that your baby's actually transferring at the breast, in a way by using the milk ejection reflex and the way that works. So that milk spray, milk release, or indeed milk ejection reflex, as a lactation consultant will call it, happens between 2 and 3 times per breast per feed. So the first one is always going to have not only the most sort of force behind it, but it's also going to be the one that happens the fastest. So for your baby who's maybe sort of slow to feed at the breast, is falling asleep quite easily at the breast, remembering that our babies are always responsive to milk flow. What we're doing by offering them the alternative breast each time you can no longer hear them swallowing is you're giving them that positive reinforcement, because they don't have to work very hard for that milk flow to start. You're also, as well as giving them that positive reinforcement at the breast, you're also making sure that they don't have to use any of those calories that are so precious when you're trying to get your baby's weight up. I hope that you found these tips really helpful, but coming back to these free, cheap and easy techniques is a really lovely way to get your milk supply up, but also for your baby to get as much of an abundant milk supply at the breast as you can. If you're interested in these and other tips like these, make sure and hit that little subscribe button. And if you want some more individualized support from a lactation consultant, make sure and check out my website and send me a little email. I would be delighted to help you.